Now we're going to look at a concept in CSS known as inheritance. Inheritance, as the word implies, is just like inheritance as if we were talking about I inherited my curly hair from my mother. This is the idea that what comes from a parent or ancestor is often, not always, but often passed along to the children and descendants of a given, in this case, a given element. So because I have curly hair, my mother has curly hair, I have curly hair. Similarly, anything we apply to a given element, its children can also pick up those features. And we're going to take a look at how that works. Point of reference is that inheritance, for the most part, almost every CSS property is inherited, except those that relate to the box model, with a few other exceptions. And we'll talk more about that as we progress through the tutorial. So I've got my snippets open and my file for 03_08 for the XHTML work file. So you can follow along with me. I'll make a little room here because our information is going into the head of portion of the document. So I'm going to grab the style element and drop that in. As I told you in the last movie, we're using this just for demonstrative purposes so you can see what we're doing in the discrete area. But normally speaking, you would probably not be using this at the end of the entire process. Anything that you would put into this area, typically speaking, would then be removed and put into a linked style. But for demonstration purposes, this is very handy.
And we're going to talk a little bit about workflow and the different usages for style sheets as we're designing a bit later on in the tutorials.
Lots of tips and tricks that Andy especially has in terms of organizing your files. So we're looking forward to that. First, before we actually go ahead and add anything to the file, let's just be sure that we're going to preview it in the browser so you can see where it is in terms of the way it looks now. So as you can see again, we're back to a plain, structured, semantic page, no style other than browser style. Back to Dreamweaver, grab my snippet here, which is a style that I've created for the body element. I'm going to save the file. Now, this says that the text color of any descendant from the body, unless there is another style overriding it, should turn green. So let's take a look in our browser, refresh, and look at that. All our text, in fact, turns green, except any text that's being used for links. That is the concept of inheritance. All of the children of the body, now that relate to text, have now colored the text green. Let's go back to Dreamweaver and add another example. In this case, we're going to modify the branding section, and only that section. And we've given it a font size of 200%. We've aligned the text to the center, and we've given the text color the color of black. I've saved my file, and now I'm going to go over to Firefox and again refresh the page and look at that. So now the styles that I just gave that section only have changed the text size and its color. And in this case, it has centered it as well. But you can still see the inheritance working with the green text. So where we haven't created another rule, the green text comes through. Let's go back to Dreamweaver. And now we're going to look at inheritance just in this one discrete area of the div called content main. Give you a little room there to see, and we're just going to color all of that gray. So save the file, moved over, and now I've reloaded, and as you can see, everything in that section, right? Every child and descendant within that section has turned gray text wherever the text is, except you'll notice that the green text is still here because it's inheriting from the body.
At this point, I think it's worth pointing out one or two of the features of the Web Developer toolbar, just so that we can see precisely where these rules are being applied. One of the interesting features of the toolbar is where we can use the Information tab to display the ID and class details that we've applied to any divs or other elements. And here we can see that our content div begins here, and our branding div appears here. To make that a little easier to view, if we go to the Outline tool and Outline Custom Elements, here we can define what type of XHTML element we want to outline. So here we're now going to outline all of those divs in red, and we can see precisely the relationship between those elements and which ones have been styled and which retain the body style through inheritance.